Hello guys, today I'll be ranking the Van Halen albums. I love Van Halen. They're maybe one of my favorite bands, top 15 or 20, somewhere in that range maybe, but yeah, with this ranking, there was a specific part of my ranking that was a bit tough and you'll understand what that part is when we get there. But yeah, keep in mind this is just my personal ranking. You don't have to agree, but feel free to let me know your ranking in the comment section below. But yeah, we'll be going from worst to best, so let's go ahead and get started. At the bottom, we got Van Halen 3. I mean, this probably doesn't surprise many people, but it definitely has to be at the bottom. There's just no way around it. But my thoughts on Gary Sharon. I mean, I never got heavily into Extreme or anything. I mean, they do have like maybe 2 or 3 songs that I like, but I don't know. Their music doesn't really make much of an impression on me, I guess you could say. But they're not bad. I'm not saying that. Just again, their music just doesn't really grab me in general. But this album does have some moments that I think are okay. I do like Without You. Dirty Water Dog has some moments I like, but it also has some moments that kind of make me roll my eyes a little bit. But Fire in the Hole, musically I enjoy. There are some lyrics that are kind of like, are you serious? But you also have Ballad Over the Bullet, which is alright. It's a decent song, but it does have the worst Van Halen song, or arguably maybe the worst Van Halen song, that being the album closer, How Many Say I, with of course Eddie Van Halen on vocals, and I don't know, those vocals definitely don't have much soul to them, but yeah, not a very good album. Again, it does have a few highlights, but yeah, not the strongest. So next we have A Different Kind of Truth. And this album, the reason why it's more towards the bottom for me is just really just replay value in general. And there are some moments here and there where David Lee Roth's vocals or his overall performance just isn't that great, because you can notice here and there that his voice is a bit shot, and you can hear that definitely on that live album that came out back in 2015 or 16. It was like live at Tokyo Dome or something like that. I gave it one listen, or I listened to a few songs, and I was just like, no, I'm done. No more. Because, man, his vocals are just not that great anymore. There might be some moments here and there where he sounds fine, but there are also some moments, or a big share or a fair share of moments, where his vocals definitely, again, sound fairly shot. But this album does have its highlights. I kind of like Tattoo. You and Your Blues is pretty good. She's the Woman's good. I like Chinatown. That's kind of an underrated song. You also have Stay Frosty. Well, the last 3 songs I think are kind of underrated. I really like Stay Frosty. Big River is pretty cool, and Beats Workin' is also a decent album closer. But this album does have its highlights, but it's definitely not one of their best. And next we have Balance. The thing with this album for me is that it's clear which half is better. I think the first half is definitely a lot stronger, because there's some stuff in the second half that just does not, or at least there are moments in the second half that just do not stick, I guess you could say, after listening to it. But maybe that's just me, and that's okay. But the first half definitely has its fair share of great stuff, like The Seventh Seal. That's a really good song. Don't Tell Me is maybe my favorite of the singles. Big Fat Money's kind of an underrated song, and of course I do like Amsterdam and Can't Stop Loving You. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some moments in the second half that I don't mind, like Not Enough and Aftershock. Aftershock is an underrated song. I really enjoy that song. Sammy Hagar is really giving it his all in that song, but you have some, I mean, those last 2 songs, Take Me Back, Deja Vu, and Feelin', those songs have just never done it for me. I mean, they're not god awful or anything. They're just songs that just do not grab me at all. But it's a decent album, or honestly, I think it's a good album. It's just really far from one of the strongest, in my opinion. And next we have OU812. Yeah, I like this album. I do think it's good, but again, just not one of their best. I mean, some of my favorites are Mine All Mine, When It's Love, Finish What You Started. I think Black and Blue is kind of an underrated song. I really like that one. Oh, Source of Infection. That song is very 80s sounding, but I really dig it though. But yeah, this album does have its highlights, but again, it's just not one of their strongest. And next we have Diver Down, and I already know I'm going to get some looks for putting this album above some of the albums that I talked about previously. But I don't know, I think this album's kind of underrated. Maybe overhated too, you could maybe say that, but I really like Where Have All the Good Times Gone. I like Hang 'Em High, that's kind of an underrated song, and same with the song Secrets. But my favorites on the album are probably Pretty Woman and Little Guitars. Little Guitars is a really underrated song. I mean, sure, it's maybe not a song that will blow you away or anything, but I don't know. I really like Little Guitars. Big Bad Bill, definitely a bit different, but I do kind of like it, though. I mean, it's not a song that I go back to a lot or anything, but I do like it, though. But yeah, this album, again, it does have its highlights, and I think it's kind of underrated. And next we have For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. This album has a lot of underrated songs, in my opinion. Just to name some, you have Spanked. I really like the guitar work in that song, and the rhythm work and all that. In and Out is also really underrated. Maybe one of my favorites on the album, and same with Man on a Mission. But of course you have the bigger hits like Pound Cake and Runaround and Right Now. Those are great songs. And also great choices for singles too, especially Right Now. But yeah, this album, definitely really good. And probably my second favorite of the Sammy Hagar era. So next we have Women and Children First. I know some people put this album more close to the top. I know a few people that do that, but I like this album. I mean, there's some stuff in the second half that does lack replay value a little bit. Mainly the last seven songs. Yeah, right. The last 3 songs, but and those last 3 songs are good, especially Take Your Whiskey Home. It's good. It's just those last 3 songs I just don't go back to a lot personally, but again, decent songs. But some of my favorites are And the Cradle Will Rock, of course, Everybody Wants Some, which was in Better Off Dead. That movie from in the 80s came out like in 1985 or something. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. But Romeo Delight, maybe one of my favorite Van Halen songs, and maybe one of their heaviest songs too. I mean, the riffs in that song definitely packed a punch, or at least some of them, but yeah, definitely a great album. Now, these next 3 albums, they move back and forth a lot. This was definitely the part of my ranking where it was really hard for me to pick where I wanted to arrange these specific 3 albums, but here they are. Van Halen 2, 1984, and 5150. I was kind of tempted to put 5150 over these 2 albums, which I know I might get looks for that, but I don't know. These 3 albums here move around a lot within my ranking, so I don't know. With Van Halen 2, I mean, those first 6 songs are just really good, and then you have Beautiful Girls, which is also pretty cool too. But the song DOA, or Dead or Alive, that song is so underrated. I mean, it's maybe one of my favorites on the album, but with Van Halen 2, it can be tough for me to pick favorites, and that's maybe a good thing, but yeah, Van Halen 2, definitely great. Then you have 1984, which of course has some of their hits like Jump and Panama, but Drop Dead Legs and Girl Gone Bad, those are some pretty underrated songs. I really like those. Then you have 5150, which is of course my favorite of the Sammy Hagar era. I mean, personally, I don't think you can go wrong with any of these songs, except maybe the album closer Inside, but I think that song is decent, though. It's different, but I do like it, though. But, yeah, some of my favorites on 5150 are Good Enough, Why Can't This Be Love, Dreams, Love Walks In, and maybe the title track. But yeah, 5150, I've always really enjoyed that album ever since first listen, and Dreams is maybe my favorite song of the Sammy Hagar era. I mean, there is just not a single weak moment in that song, in my opinion. So let's go ahead and move on to the top 2, which In second place, I have the debut album, or self-titled. I mean, it has so many classics on it. I mean, what hasn't been said already? I mean, you have Running with the Devil, You Really Got Me, Ain't Talking About Love, which is maybe my favorite Van Halen song. I'm not sure. My favorite Van Halen song changes a lot, but yeah, I don't know. And Ain't Talking About Love is just a really good song. I mean, if it's not my favorite, then it's definitely top 3. But you also have Feel Your Love Tonight and Ice Cream Man, which are also really good too. But yeah, their debut album, what hasn't been said already? Again, definitely a great album and definitely a classic. So at the top, I have Fair Warning. I don't care if it's an unpopular opinion. I love this album. Maybe one of my favorite albums of all time. I mean, it has some of their heaviest songs, and yeah, I mean, Eddie Van Halen just really snaps on this album here. But Mean Street, maybe one of my favorite Van Halen songs. Dirty Movies and Sinner's Swing are also underrated songs. And you have Hear About It Later, which I've always really liked. And then, of course, you have Unchained, which is, of course, the big song of the album. And Unchained is definitely a great song. Now, Sunday Afternoon in the Park is definitely interesting. Definitely different from the rest of the album. But I don't know. It's kind of an intriguing instrumental. I can't remember what Eddie used to make this instrumental. I know I mentioned it before once. I believe I reviewed Fair Warning and I mentioned what he used in that song, but I can't remember what it was off the top of my head right at this moment. But either way, I do like that instrumental. But yeah, I love Fair Warning. Of course, if you haven't heard it, definitely check it out. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. No, I'm playing. But yeah, Fair Warning. I love this album. Definitely has to be at the top for me. But that's my ranking. Let me know your ranking in the comment section below. Let me know some of your favorite or least favorite albums and all that good stuff. But anyways, thanks for watching. Please leave a comment and a like. Subscribe. Have a nice day and take care.